Sambuca is liqueur flavored with the essential oils of anise. Black Sambuca is flavored with black licorice root. Sambuca is often served with one bean, called the fly, three beans, representing health, wealth, and happiness, or the Trinity, or seven beans, representing the seven hills of Rome. And as I look at this black drink, I'm reminded of a story. There's a claim that Jesus wasn't the product of a virgin birth, but rather fathered by a Roman soldier named Panthera. Romans, as we've discussed before, didn't have a huge variance in names, and scholars, not finding any references to a Panthera, believe that the name was made up. But then during railway construction in 1859, 9 tombstones of Roman soldiers were found in Germany. One of them, an archer, Tiberius Julius Abdes Pantera, was born in 22 BC and died in 40 AD, and was from the city of Sidon, 60 miles or 95 kilometers north of Nazareth. The cognomen part of his name, Abdes, means servant of God, and has led scholars to believe that he had a Jewish heritage. This led to renewed interest in the theory about Pantera. The story came about most likely as a way to mock Christians, possibly due to the similarity of Panthera to the Greek word Parthena, meaning virgin. So, that way they could be all like, born of a Parthena, more like born of a Panthera. Panthera, the Greek word for panther, basically means predator of all beasts. It was a word that could mean any wild predatory beast, or mythological composites as well. Jaguar, panther. Cougar, panther. Lions, tigers, and bears, all panthers. Manticores, panthers. So if a guy had the nickname Panthera, odds are it just means he was a fierce warrior. The oldest known reference we know of this theory existing would have been in Celsus' lost work, Logos Aletheis, meaning the true word, probably written in Egypt around the 2nd century, and is an attack upon Christianity, basically breaking down to 3 things. 1, Christianity makes no sense. 2, it's a product of the lower uneducated classes. And 3, it's a danger to Rome. Celsus also is upset with the idea of Jesus because he thinks that Jesus is a charlatan, because he keeps claiming he's performing miracles while we actually all know what he's really doing. Using magic he stole from Egypt. So, if it's a lost work though, how do we know what Celsus said? Well, around 240, Origen of Alexandria obtained a copy of Celsus' work and responded to it in Cata Celsu, or against Celsus. In it, he goes through Celsus' argument in detail, often citing large passages of the work in order to refute it properly. In it, we learn that Celsus claimed to have learned from Jewish sources that Mary, when she was pregnant, was turned outdoors by the carpenter to whom she was betrothed, as having been found guilty of adultery, and she bore a child to a certain soldier named Panthera. There are several references in the Talmud to characters named Yeshu, many of which have similarities to the Christian Yeshua. And so if this Yeshu is the same name as Yeshua, that gives us a whole bunch of extra Jesuses. Jesus the ghost, Jesus the idolater, Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus son of Pantera, Jesus the sorcerer, Jesus son of Stada, and Jesus the student of Joshua son of Parakia. And several of these Yeshus have connections with Egypt, perform miracles, have conflicts with religious authorities, and some, like Yeshu the sorcerer, even has disciples and is killed on Passover Eve. But in his case, it's by stoning and then by hanging. And in the Babylonian Talmud, Stada is argued to mean unfaithful, and Ben Stada is equated as being the same person as Ben Pandera. So some combination of Yeshu ben Stada and Yeshu ben Pandera, a Yeshu who's born of illegitimate birth, spends time in Egypt, gains magical powers, and is later executed, could be where Celsus is getting his idea of what Jesus looked like historically from. Also important that we're cautious when we're equating the different Yeshus with Yeshua. These documents were used as grounds for Jewish persecution in the past, despite no rabbi fully equating Jesus with Yeshu until the 12th century. Jesus the idolater is the 7th century BC king of Manasseh, according to Tanaim and Amorim scholars, and the traitorous ghost who sought to harm Israel and is for eternity boiled in shit is unnamed in the original versions. Regarding Jesus HaNatsari, the ending of his name, which is believed to be of Nazareth, isn't consistently present in old documents, which has led to speculation to whether or not it was edited out or added in later. The first rabbi to blatantly draw a parallel of equating Jesus with any of the Yeshus in the Talmud, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I will horribly butcher it, is one in the Middle Ages, and his argument is basically that Jesus is a ripoff of Yeshu the student. But either way, the parallels to Jesus Christ have most scholars convinced that these stories, even if not literal history, do possess a gloss of early Jewish-Christian relations, showing something about the conflicts happening in the Jewish-Christian community at the time. A good example of this would be the story of Jacob the heretic, a story where Jacob wants to heal a rabbi in the name of Yeshu on the Sabbath. Another rabbi comes forward and basically says that death is preferable to loss of holiness. Regardless to whether or not Yeshu ben Pantera is even present in this story, the parallels between being healed on the Sabbath here directly contrast those being said by Christians present in the Gospels. So yeah, to summarize, no rabbi equates Jesus with any of the Yeshus for over 1,000 years, and it's more likely that Celsus just misread a different person of the same name and assumed it was Jesus. As for the statue mentioned earlier, most scholars consider it just a coincidence. Plus, there's also the theory that if Jesus was known to have been conceived by another man, the whole virgin birth angle wouldn't have probably been gone with because, you know, it's a horrible way to try covering that up.